Hey folks, welcome back to Mark Kelly Farm. You want to play in the dirt today? Stick around. So there's been something needing done here on the place, and we've been saving up for it, and we finally got the funds to do so, and I'll show you what we're going to do. So these water hydrants right here, we have 3 of them here on the property. But being this is a fairly decent sized place, there's always places we got to stretch hoses to. So we've been wanting to add a hydrant just to the right of the barn door there. And then also a hydrant over by the chicken coop, because the nearest hydrant is the one where I'm standing, or the one clear on the other side of the garden. So this winter, when Kelly's having to fill the water there in the chicken coop, she won't need to walk clear over to that other hydrant. She'll have one close by. So the plan is, this hydrant here has this valve right here next to it. And what this valve was for is there's a water tank across the other side of the road, the main road out there. So this line here continued on underneath the roadway and used to fill a cattle tank out there when this property all the way around here, even across the road, was owned by the same family. This is no longer owned by us across the street, so they have other means of watering their cattle now. They have other water tanks. So what we're going to do is, here at this valve, just on this side of the valve, we're going to take the whatever pipe is connected to this valve loose, put in an elbow, and we're going to go straight across here to the barn with a new pipe, poly pipe, and then from there we're going to go to the chicken coop. And I got some people coming out this morning. They're going to be here in about 20 minutes to do all the digging for me. So it's going to be pretty invasive digging. It's going to tear up this lawn. We got to go clear across the driveway. But once we're all done, we'll try to fix her back like she was before. We'll just have a bare dirt area here until this grass grows back together. But I got to get the tractor out of the barn, because right here where we go across the road, I want to drag some of that gravel back, because once they dig across the road, there's going to be a big pile of dirt, and I don't want the dirt and the gravel to get mixed all in with the grass. I'm going to pull the gravel back, and then once I fill that back with dirt, I'm going to lay that pipe across fairly early so we can use the driveway. All the connections can be done at our leisure. We'll probably do some of them tonight, but we just got to make the driveway usable. So I got to go get the mower off the tractor and put the pallet forks on, and we'll be ready to go. All right, we got the tractor ready to rock with the box blade on the back and the pallet forks on the front. I'm going to use the pallet forks to pick up that poly hose to string it, help string it out, and then when we go to backfill, I'll switch to the front loader. Well, the guys are over getting a game plan. This is a trencher. It's a monster. It ain't going to even slow down. got the clearance hole dug, got the pipe found, Now we're starting to trench. It's going to be quite a cleanup job when we're done. But that digger's not even slowing down. Alright, I got the 1¼ inch poly tube out, and I put it underneath the driveway and left enough out on this end to connect so we could use the driveway. And then I started backfilling a little bit, and then I went to town, got the parts to connect all this because I didn't know what size pipe that was going to be. Turned out it was 3/4 pipe. So I got a bell reducer and I stepped it up to 1¼ inch and connected it to the poly tube here. However, I'm not going to bury this until I make sure this valve and everything works good, in case we need to replace the valve or something like that. I've already turned it. It opens and closes fine. This pipe here fills with water because of the sprinklers. So I'm going to drill a weep hole down on the bottom, and then when I backfill, I'm going to put some gravel around it so this pipe will stay dry, because if that were to freeze up, I wouldn't be able to move that valve down in the ground. But it's coming along. We've made a mess of the yard, that's for sure. They had to bring a mini excavator out because with the trencher, they're saying they couldn't do what needed to be done, although there is a backhoe on the trencher. But it's not my machine. I can't jump on it and operate it. But those first guys, I'm glad, kind of scared that I'm paying them by the hour, because they turned a 2-hour job into an all-day job. Now, the experienced guy on the crew this morning told me that they'll cut me some slack on the hours because the other guy was learning how to use the backhoe. So it took an hour to do a 15-minute hole because he was real herky-jerky and not smooth with the backhoe at all. This guy that came with the mini excavator now, however, he's got it going on. He knows what he's doing. He's getting her done. Alright, the guy with the Mini X, he did a fantastic job, knocked this thing out. Had to dig a little further over here though, because where the trench caved in when they did a turn over here. So it had to be a lot wider, and there's a lot bigger pile of dirt, but that just means I get to play with Johnny over here. So you can see the trench is pretty darn deep. Any water pipe here in Nebraska has got to be 5 feet deep minimum. So it doesn't freeze in the winter because the ground freezes. But that pipe is pretty deep down in there. So I've already been backfilling a little bit with the tractor. The edge tamers on the bucket, if you've seen our review on that, those work very well for doing this as backfilling too, because it keeps you from tearing up the grass. It doesn't cut down into it. So I'm going to backfill this one way. I'm going to water it down, put a bunch of water in there. I'm going to bring some of this pile over into here because this does not need to be open. The only area I need open is right here where I make this connection. So I'll make me a nice little ramp to walk down in there where I don't need to use the ladder. And then the hole on the other end's got to stay open, so we put our hydrant over there too. And then this is where the other hydrant goes, right here. 5 feet down there. So we'll show you how that works when we do it. I'm going to continue to backfill this trench. Alright, we're ready to make our connection here on the end hydrant. So what we got to do is cut this poly tube, figure out where how long it needs to be down on the bottom, and then we'll cut it perfectly to length. And then we're going to attach our hydrant to the end, and we'll show you where we're going from there. So you can see I'm above grade level with my head here. Anytime you're working below grade, if you're going to be working down in the trench, you want to do some shoring, which you'd get some pieces of plywood put on either side on the wall, and then you would wedge 2x4s down between the plywood to keep this thing from caving in. Because if you're down at the bottom of this hole and this caves in, you're going to have issues. You're probably going to die because they won't be able to dig you out quick enough. But we've got enough clay in this soil. You can hear that. I feel pretty safe. Plus I'm doing all my connection work above grade, so I'm not going to get down in the hole. I'm going to do all my connections right here, and then when we put the hydrant on, we can just stand the hydrant down in the hole, and I don't have to get down in there. So even if we did have a small cave in, I'm still above grade and I can breathe for the most part. So what I got to do now is I got to heat the end of this up, and then Kelly's going to hand me the end of the hydrant. I've already got the piece screwed on the end, the nipple, the king nipple, because these are pretty tight. And once I heat this, she's going to hand me that end, and then I'm going to whack it with my dead blow hammer to drive it home. And then we're going to slide these two clamps up, secure them real well, and then I can put this hydrant down in the hole. And then we got a little trick to show you once we do that. So we've got it all connected. I didn't have to get down in the hole. We've got it down in the hole now. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take that bucket over there, and we're going to cut the bottom out of that bucket, and we're going to fit it down over the top of this hydrant. All right, we got the bottom cut out of the bucket, and we put the bucket bottom side down because we still have a lid for this. And then we cut a little notch for it to fit over the tubing going in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fill this area here with gravel. And the reason we do that is because the way these hydrants work, because of the way we freeze here in Nebraska, once you close the hydrant, there's no water in this pipe. And the way that happens is once you close it, it opens a weep hole down here in the bottom on that brass fitting, and the water drains out of the riser on this hydrant, and it's got to have a place to drain. If we were just to pack dirt in there, it could plug that hole and it wouldn't drain. So we'll fill the bucket full of gravel, and then we're going to cut a hole in the lid for this pipe, and then we're going to split the lid so we can wrap it around the pipe, and then we'll actually fasten the lid to the bucket, and then we can backfill this hole. All right, we got a little piece of landscape fabric that I put in on top of the rock, which is kind of overkill because I didn't cut the hole real clean. I just did it with the Sawzall I had down here. If you wanted to cut that hole a lot cleaner, you just cut an 1.5 or 1.25 hole with a hole saw, and then just saw over to the hole. The hole's not in the center, which doesn't have to be as long as you measure it in the right spot. So and just close the lid up, and then you're good to go here. I put a little gravel down around that where it comes out of that, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw one of these bags over that gravel to kind of keep the dirt out of it, and then this hole can be backfilled. So we're actually going to charge up the system before we do all the backfilling, just to make sure we don't have any leaks anywhere, which we shouldn't, because everything's tightened up tighter than probably needs to be. Now this hydrant over by the barn is a little more tricky. I already got this connection made, and then we have the main line that's running from over there. Right here we have to put a T in. So if you can imagine, putting a T in right here is going to be a little tricky, and to do it with galvanized pipe fittings would almost be impossible, because this stuff isn't very forgiving. So we're going to do a PVC connection here with a T for this pipe to tee into. This poly pipe is a lot more rigid than what I had expected, and it's constantly wanting to go back into the curve it is in the roll. But with this distance we got here, I'll be able to bend it around. I'll have Kelly hold that hydrant straight. And as far as cave-ins here, we've got a big enough area dug out here. Even if the side were to cave in and I was on my knees, I would still be above whatever caved in there, because we got a big area dug out here. So I feel pretty safe working down in here. And again, this stuff's hard as a rock, so I don't think we're going to have any problem. So I need to get my fittings down in here and figure out how much I need to cut out, and we'll start putting this together. I've already got the metal nipples put into the PVC adapters with a slip on the other end. So we'll get those put in, and then we'll figure out how much PVC we're going to need to make those connections. All right, we've got our T in. No way we've been able to do that with metal pipe fittings. Now, if you had to, we could have left this trench uncovered, and then that way we could pull this end in and out a little bit and give us some room, and then we probably could have did that in galvanized pipe. But me being in a hurry, I'd already covered that up. So this other connection is going to be a lot more forgiving because it's on the hydrant, and we can leave plenty of room to plug that in, and it'll slip right in. I have another PVC fitting for that in there. All right, we got that puppy in. It's quite a chore wrestling that 1¼ inch poly, but with a little help from Kelly on the top end, we were able to shove that thing in. So now we just need to wrestle this over to where it needs to be, and then we'll do the same thing that we did on the other hydrant, so we won't bore you with that. All right, we got that baby all dialed in. When we backfill the hole, we'll put a level on the pipe, make sure we're straight up and down. But we're going to turn the water on after this PVC's got time to cure. I use the hot glue, so that won't be long. And we'll leave it run for an hour or two just to make sure that we don't get any big wet spots in here. And then we can start backfilling. All right, babe, we got any squirters coming out of the squirter?
Drips.
We got water.
Chickens, we got water.
Nice. High five, babe. Good job. All right, I've already went and checked all of the holes. There is no water coming out in the holes. That's a great sign. The only drip we have is out of the top of that hydrant where the packing nut is, so all I got to do is tighten that packing nut just a little bit to stop that. But now we get to backfill all these big holes. I'm not going to bore you with that because it's just boring tractor work for you, but it's like playing in a big sandbox for me. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. Apologize about the wind. We love you guys. Come back and see us where?
Our Kelly Farms.
Yep. Love you guys.